I'm coming to you today with my April wrap-up. April was a fun month. So it was the end of classes, which meant a lot of assignments had to be handed in, and it was also finals, which, finals. I also had a trip to New York at the end of the month for about 5 days, which overall meant this month didn't have too much time for reading, but I did still manage to read 6 books, which I am quite proud of. This was also the month of the Magical Readathon Owls, and I did complete my Wand Maker TBR. However, I did not pass all 12 owls. I passed, I believe, 6 of them. This was a pretty good reading month, though. Overall, I read a good amount of books despite all the busyness, and I also read quite a lot of good books. There was only one major standout disappointment, which we will talk about, but other than that, let's talk about some amazing books. The first book I read this month was Radio Silence by Alice Oseman, which was for the Defense Against the Dark Arts prompt, which was Reducto, read a book that starts with the letter R, and Paperback Dreams, or Kat, is now the #1 person I trust on BookTube for book recommendations because 2 books now have landed for me. One is Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds, and 2 is now Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. This book resonated with me so much. I adored it. I loved the platonic boy-girl friendship. Oh my god, if you want a nerdy, quirky, platonic boy-girl friendship, read this book, because I've been looking for one for ages. I also have a 30-second review and summary of this book that I will link down below if you are curious, but essentially this book is about Frances, who is, you know, head girl. She's all slated to go to a good university, and no one knows kind of that she does fan art for her favorite thing in the world, a podcast called Universe City. And Alad Last, similarly in her city, is also, you know, really smart and heading to a good university, and one day she finds out that he's the creator of Universe City, and they kind of find a friendship in this where they can be completely themselves and without the pressures of like school and parents and all of that stuff. It is so good. I give it 4 out of 5 stars just because the beginning, like 30 pages, I was almost sure I was going to hate the book, and also because the writing was a bit awkward at parts for me, but other than that, amazing, stunning book. Resonated with me so strongly. Absolutely adored it. Read this book. I wish I'd read it when I was younger. The second book I read this month was Stars Above by Marissa Meyer, which is the novella collection for the Lunar Chronicles, and it was fine. I give it 3 stars. It didn't add too much to the story, and honestly, it felt like all the scenes that were in the Lunar Chronicles that weren't good enough to be in the series, so they just kind of threw it into this book just to make some money. Pretty much is what it felt like. If you want to see my separate thoughts on each of the stories, they are in my Goodreads updates for this book. Stars Above, I read for Astronomy, which was to read a book with star in the title. Now, at this point in the month, which book I read in which order kind of gets muddy because it's around when finals started, and that was a shit show. I'm just going to kind of talk about the books in no particular order. I reread The 7 Husbands of Evelyn and Hugo this month by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Camera, please focus on me. And, like I said, this may have become my all-time favorite book. I read it a second time in about 3 months, I think. It was still amazing, still stunning, still very emotional and beautiful. I just adore this book. And actually, the second time around, I think I just get to appreciate the quotes and the writing style in it a bit more. Still 5 out of 5 stars. Absolutely adore it. The 7 Husbands of Evelyn and Hugo is about a girl named Monique Grant who is given a chance to write an article for her magazine about Evelyn Hugo, who is auctioning off her dresses. And Evelyn Hugo is like a big-time Hollywood star. Think like Marilyn Monroe. And when she meets Evelyn, Evelyn goes, "Oh, I don't want you to write me something for the magazine. I want you to write my biography." And Evelyn's big scandal, her big thing, is that she has had 7 husbands. And the story goes through her relationships and how she became who she was in Hollywood. And during this journey, we also get to see Monique learn what to do with her relationships. The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo meets the Charms requirement, which is age line, read an adult work. This month, I also read The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon, and this was so disappointing. Oh my god. Okay, guys, everyone has been adoring and loving, obsessing over this book, and for me, it exists. It wasn't amazing, it wasn't awful, it just kind of is there. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I don't know if it's because of my first foray into high fantasy. I don't know if it's because it's a very chunky book and it could have honestly been split up into multiple other books with much more explanation, but like, I didn't enjoy reading the characters. I wasn't invested in the relationships. I just was meh about the whole book. The Priory of the Orange Tree, how do I even describe Priory? Okay. It's about a girl who is kind of sent to protect the queen. And she's a queen, obviously. Some people aren't going to be content. But someone's trying to hurt the queen. Someone's trying to take power from the queen. And the issue with that is that, legend has it that as long as someone of the queen's bloodline sits on the throne, the, like, evil dragon pretty much will not be awoken. And, yeah, that's Priory. There's a girl sent to protect the queen, and it's because the queen's bloodline has to be on the throne to not wake an evil dragon. And if they get the queen off the throne and or end the bloodline with the queen, then we have some issues. But yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. Just kind of exists. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't amazing. It just meh. The Priory of the Orange Tree was for Herbology. Read a book with a plant on the cover. Okay, oh my god, this is such a cute romance. It is one of the best romances I've ever read. Is there anything I will love more than angsty gay panic? I don't know. I don't think so. Autobiography I read for Arithmancy, which is read a work by more than one author. And, oh my god, I loved it so much. Autobiography is about a bisexual boy who takes a writing class, and his TA is hot and is the bishop's son. And I will let you assume what happens from there. It is so cute, it's so angsty. I think for a romance, it really explores more than just the romance. A lot of romances are kind of just tunnel vision romance, and this explores a lot of, like, the whole picture of life. And also, since it's bishop's son, they look a lot into religion, which also I love, because I think a lot of books like this with religion, they kind of just shit on religion, and this book does not do that, which I really liked. I don't even know how to talk about this book. I'm just an emotional wreck when it comes to this book. I adored it so much. I gave Autobiography 5 out of 5 stars. Finally, I read The House of the Scorpion by Nancy Farmer. This is a reread for me. I read it first in middle school for Battle of the Books, which is literally a book trivia competition in middle school where teams of 3 compete about the books. And essentially some of the questions are like very general, kind of just world building stuff, and other times it's like, who is this person's second grade teacher? Or what present did this person give that person on their 13th birthday? Or something like that. So I first read that for this, and I remembered really enjoying it when I was reading it. I remember the first, like, chunk of the book was really hard to kind of get into, and then the rest of it was, you know, actually, like, fast-paced and stuff, which still holds true. I think I had a shorter attention span as a kid, so I actually didn't find that, like, first slump for me, really. So overall, really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Just objectively, it's not the best book, but I still found it really fun to read. The House of the Scorpion is about a clone of a drug overlord, and it kind of explores his life growing up as a clone. So a lot of clones, they don't see them very highly and stuff, and it's about him growing up and knowing kind of that he is the clone of this drug overlord, but also learning about friendship and family and all this stuff. It's quite emotional, actually, and also mysterious and has a decent amount of action. So overall, like, a pretty well-rounded book. Yeah, and this has a sequel. There's like a sequel that came out like a decade after this book came out, but now I really do want to read it, because it kind of continues after the end. And if you've read this book, the end is it's one big mess. I also read this like while on the subway in New York, and also in the Metropolitan Museum. What was I even doing in New York? I read The House of the Scorpion for Care of Magical Creatures, which was to read a book with a land animal on the cover. So that was everything I read in April. I think I remember to explain what all the books were about this time. And I feel like I forgot to say the prompts for all of these, but if I didn't, I will add those in somewhere at some point. Overall, pretty good reading month for me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you sometime. Goodbye. I'm not wearing a bra in this shirt, even though it's kind of a shirt that needs a bra. So if my boobs look sad in this video, now you know why.